Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so you know me. This time of year, I'm turning on the camera every 5 minutes anytime I hear a rumor, just because it'll give me an opportunity to talk what I love to talk, which is NBA basketball, Lakers to be particular. So this is what we're doing. Uh, it has been reported that some random NBA exec, you know how they are with these type of rumors, believes that Russell Westbrook will end up with the Thunder for his expiring year of this contract. Um, and I think that would be a great reunion for him. I don't know if it's a great fit for the Thunder, but it does create cap space for them. Now, the urgency to create cap space for the Thunder is curious for me, but not when I dig deep in my GM bag and realize that that expiring contract holds value at the trade deadline for whoever acquires it right now. And see, that's how I'm looking at it. He thinks, and when I say hey, I mean Sam Presti, thinks that he can get something for that, I believe. Or it's just a reunion, good for the fans. They have a down year coming up, even though they got a lot of young talent, including this young player that's going to be drafted here, probably homegrown. Maybe they bring back Russell Westbrook for sentimental reasons. Maybe he comes back, plays his final year, and then does a signing of some sort and stays with his hometown. Well, not hometown, that's us, but his home team. We know that's his home there. So you know what I mean? It's one of those situations where maybe they're thinking that way, but honestly, if I'm Sam Presti, I'm thinking I'm acquiring that $47 million contract, knowing that I'm not trying to attract any free agents with that $47 million. Not really. All I really want to do is probably just attract more picks, get more trade equity, or add to this team of young players. As Nick Wright has been screaming all day long, the Oklahoma City Ponzi scheme because they hoard picks, which I don't think is anything to be ashamed of, because that's how Boston found themselves where they are right now. It's because they did the exact same thing, and they drafted here and there with the picks that they hoarded. I think they could have did much better, to be honest with you. But the point is, when you add as many picks as they did, you can give yourself a deep team and make it whatever you want it to be. So the Thunder are in that position right now, and if they acquire Russell Westbrook's contract, I'd imagine they'd be looking to either free up the cap space at the end of next year by letting it play all the way out, or trading it at the deadline, for which they probably think they can get a pick for it. And if they can get picks for it, then that means we can get picks for it. That's how I'm looking at it. Sam Presti can't negotiate nothing Rob Pelinka can't negotiate. That's how I'm looking at it if I'm Rob. Why the hell does he want that thing? Why does he want it? Yeah, see, that's where my mind goes. Because if I'm looking at Sam Presti and he can get picks for Russell Westbrook's contract, which I think is the only reason why he would even acquire such a thing, since that's the only thing he ever is after, then that tells me it holds more value than the media's been saying, just like I've been saying. Sam Presti ain't about to pick up a struggling player on a loaded contract just because he just wants to bring him back to a place where he's comfortable. Where the hell's the leverage, or rather the incentive to do that if you're Sam Presti? There is none. You got a bunch of young guards. The last thing you need to be bringing in for a basketball fit is Russell Westbrook. SGA and Giddey, you're going to get in front of their production? Hell no, you're not. You're more so like the Rockets. You're more likely to not play Russell Westbrook at all, given your circumstances. They're in the exact same situation as the Rockets with Wall if they pick up that contract. Now, obviously, his sentiment to the team means they probably won't sit him. And the fact that he's such a durable player means even more so you don't sit him. Because the only reason why you're sitting Wall is because you're worried about his injury history. You know what I mean? You don't have that issue with Russell Westbrook at all. He's one of the more durable players out there. So, if Sam Presti wants it, I guess if he's willing to pay us what we want for it, or help facilitate us Kyrie Irving, of course we'll do it. My thing is, all he's going to do is turn around and ship it off to Mitch Kupchak any damn way. That's all he's going to do, because that's who wants it. That's who needs the $47 million to free up for Miles Bridges to make sure that LaMelo Ball is comfy in Charlotte. He's the only person in the league that really needs that thing, and everybody knows it. So if Sam Presti's acquiring it, chances are he's acquiring it to ship it off to Charlotte for picks. Now, that's a stretch, of course, because there are a lot of different things that can go into negotiations. A lot of different people will want $47 million freed up, which is why he probably wants the contract. That is Sam Presti. Because there are people who are going to be realizing that they need that $47 million somewhere near the trade deadline when they realize their team ain't good enough, or realize their stars looking elsewhere, or realize somebody got hurt and it's going to change the trajectory of what they're going to look like for the next year, or whatever it is going to be. That $47 million being freed up at once will be necessary for one of y'all, or more than one of y'all. More than one of y'all. Which is what I think Sam Presti's looking forward to having happen, is maybe he can have a negotiation battle over that particular contract. Because I'm telling you, it is not dead weight. They just want us, Lakers, to think it is, so we'll let it go for cheap. It ain't dead weight at all. And if Russell Westbrook would have played well last year, that thing would be coveted. I'm not just talking about, oh, yeah, we'll take it. I'm talking about, no, please, can we work something out type of coveted if Russell Westbrook would have played well last year. Don't let these people fool you. So, all in all, I think the Lakers should sit very, very tight on that Russell Westbrook contract unless they're getting something for it that can help them get better now in terms of a championship level better, because that's ultimately what we're doing. The way I see it is this is the way I see it. If we hold on to Russell Westbrook's contract, it's one of two things going on here. Either we're not going all in for this season, as to which we should just blow the thing up if that's what we're going to do. Don't put your toe in the water and not jump all the way in this case. If you're not going to bring Braun what he needs, let him go somewhere else. That's my opinion. But I do see other people's opinion in regards to if LeBron stays and dukes it out with the Lakers, it's probably best for his legacy in the long run. I see that angle. That doesn't necessarily mean we should just tank to the ground while he's sitting here. I don't think that. I think that if you have LeBron James, it looks bad on you if you don't do everything you can to win a championship with him. That's the thing. There's 29 other teams that want LeBron James. We happen to have him. We got to do right by him. So if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you know you can't have him at Russell Westbrook at $47 million this upcoming season for that reason. If you bring him back and he doesn't represent 4 or 5 other players, particularly defensive players, wings that we need to help defend everybody, then we're not going to have enough to win. And we're keeping our toe in the water, knowing we're going to suck, but not doing what we need to do to suck to make sense. You're just sucking for no reason. That doesn't make any sense. So what we need to do, and I know this is going to sound crazy because I've been screaming against this the whole time, we need to make the decision to go all in for LeBron James and this era, or go all in to blowing this thing up. I don't want us to go halfway in on either decision, because there are things that have to be done to commit to make either decision make sense. And if you teeter in between the two things, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're definitely going to lose. Everybody's definitely going to be unhappy, and you're going to get the worst end of the stick if you're the Laker organization. You got to commit to something. So to me, what makes sense is, at this point, we got Braun. We know we're going to suck either way. We know we don't have picks either way. Everybody's afraid to trade everybody, right? And we see an opportunity to build a championship level team, even though it's kind of crazy with 3 max contracts. We're still in a position to build a championship level team so long as we further mortgage our future. Now, the thing about mortgaging your future is, even though it looks abysmal as hell, there are still ways to acquire picks. There are still ways to get talent on your team. You're just going to have to commit to the idea of not being very good after you do this. But there are ways. And so you don't necessarily let the future being bleak keep you from opportunities to win the championship if you see the fruit in committing to LeBron James right now. And if you rebuild, there are people who believe there's no guarantee you're going to build anything worth building anyway. The last Laker core kids we had was not the best core in the league, which is why we ultimately traded them for Anthony Davis. No guarantee you get a good core next time. Sometimes that has to do with the drop of the ball, not necessarily how good your scouts are, etc., health permitting, all of that. So what you know is you have LeBron James in place, the pinnacle of all stars. And what are you shooting for in rebuilding? To get to a point where a guy like that wants to be here. Well, a guy like that is here and he wants to be here. So at some point, you got to look at that aspect and value that. If you value that as much as, more so than the rebuild and the possibility of trying to go through this process, then what makes the most sense is to get him what he needs and say, I don't care about 2027, 2029. Because even if I go through this process of rebuilding by 2027, 2029, I may still suck, because the team that has the LeBron James of that day is going to beat me. So if I got LeBron James now, I might as well just go for it, see what happens. So that's what we're going to do, I believe. I think that's what everybody's come to conclusion is going to happen. Plus, there's another factor into this situation that I only am now coming around to trying to work into my equation, and that is, if you're the Los Angeles Lakers and you duke it out with LeBron James, chances are you have clutch in your back pocket at all times. And if you have clutch in your back pocket at all times, and that means down the pipeline, you have a pipeline chance at getting some of those clutch clients who are ultimately going to be the top tier players, because everybody loves Bron. Everybody knows this, that, and the third. And it looks as if clutch is going to be very successful in the future. So if you're banking on clutch being very successful in the future and them having the continued power that it looks like they have right now, then you probably want to be aligned with them if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, because stars want to come to the Lakers. They're going to have the stars. So you never let that aspect leave your mind. If you break this relationship up with LeBron James in 2022, you're not going to have that relationship with LeBron James in 2030, which you're definitely going to want. So now that I've worked that part more so into my equation, I want to stay close to Bron for the future of the franchise. It's not just a short-sighted thing. It's more so about what's going to happen over the next 20 years. As to which you hope that you can find yourself in a position to have good relationships with everybody who's going to be powerful. Better ones than you have right now. So, if you're looking at everything I'm looking at right there, then you just go all in with LeBron James and you trust that your relationship with Clutch will help you on the back end find the talent coming your way by choice in free agency via them. So, Zion Williamson, I expect you to be a Laker if you sign with Clutch 2028, 2030, that kind of thing. I'm not saying him specifically, but I'm saying if we stay in business with Ron, that should be the benefit to GD. So, go all in for Bron. It's better for you in the long run. And I think if you're going to do that, then you have to let go of Russell Westbrook. That's what all of this is about. It's about understanding that if you're going to keep Russell Westbrook's contract, you're not going all in for Bron. Unless Bron says, I want to play with Russell Westbrook. As to which you then tell Bron, all right, well, we'll get him back at the trade deadline because we're not going to keep him at $47 million. As to which Bron will say, of course, that makes all the sense in the world. So, if that's possible, and if it ain't possible, well, you just let him go because he doesn't need to be here at $47 million. You'd rather not have him than to have him at 47, even if you love him as a player. So, if that's the case, you're the Los Angeles Lakers. You understand that Mike wants that thing. You understand that Sam Presti wants that thing because he knows Mike wants that thing. So it's one of those situations where you just say, okay, Kyrie Irving's in a weird spot right now for his free agency situation. It's a little weird because he has to figure out if he wants to opt in or opt out. And his best spot in the league, if you read the tea leaves and you just spread it all out, the best spot for him to land is here. It really is. When you deduce everything that's going on around him, at the end of the day, who's going to give him the best opportunity to be him? It's us. Who's going to give him the best opportunity to win? Proven already. It's us next to Bron. Who gives him an opportunity at multiple championships if he were to come here and be his best? It's the Lakers with Bron and AD. So, this is the best place for him as far as I can tell. Even though he wants to be in the East Coast, he loves New York. The Knicks, that's not going to work. Period. We know that. And the Nets also are not going to work. And we know that. Period. It may not be something he wants to admit about the Nets because I know they have a lot of faith in themselves, but it ain't got nothing to do with them. It has to do with their organization and their lack of assets, just like us. But the difference is they don't have AD and Bron. They just have KD and a hurt Ben Simmons. That's not better than AD and Bron. It's not. Not for Kyrie, not for the Nets. They would much rather have what we have than what they have right now. So, with that being said, this is a better spot for Kyrie Irving. Plus, we haven't had the headaches with Kyrie Irving that the Boston Celtics have had and the Brooklyn Nets have had. So, we may be inclined to do for him what they would not be willing to. Not only that, but we're the Lakers and we're equipped to deal with him because we can deal with anything. We've already done it twice. Whatever it is, we've seen it twice. Period. So, ain't nothing that Kyrie Irving gonna do that we ain't seen Dennis Rodman do, that we ain't seen other players do, that we ain't seen 100 times over. It's everything you can think of, excluding nothing. I've seen it as a Laker fan. So, Kyrie's just going to be another walk in the park for us. When he miss a couple games, so what? It's like AD. We miss a couple games. We're going to miss the playoffs. We expect to miss the playoffs. The thing about this is bringing in Kyrie Irving gives us the guise of having a nice, solid core while not being able to bring them what they need. And that's what they're signing up for. Unless we get lucky. I've said it a million times, but we don't have the cap space nor the assets to bring them a really, really good bench. So what we need is someone like Kyrie Irving, who's a performer, an entertainer, to give us that Laker energy, that unique beauty on the court that can mask what it is that we're ultimately not going to be able to do in winning. But you maximize the opportunity of overachieving based on who it is that you have in place. The uber talented Kyrie Irving, the uber talented Anthony Davis, and the GOAT LeBron James. So, what do you do? What do you do? Sorry, Mike, no disrespect, I'm just speaking. What do? You just do what you have to do if you're the Lakers. You take that 2027 pick, you take that 2029 pick, you take Russell Westbrook's expiring contract, and then you negotiate with the Brooklyn Nets to try to get yourself Kyrie Irving and other aspects that will come with him. Draft equity is what you need back. Now, obviously, if you're giving out first-round picks, you're not going to get back first-round picks, but we do need to try to maneuver a way to get ourselves assets that can get us first-round picks with the intention of acquiring first-round picks. And then we need to go full Presti over the next several years while we're watching Kyrie dribble and watching LeBron go out in style. We need to be silently acquiring picks and assets, quietly investing in our G League development situation more so than we ever have before. And we need to be plucking players, anybody who we know can fit the mold that'll help us play. We need to bring those players up, bring them up with the intention of having a rotating, revolving door for our bench situation in the back of that bench. If a guy is not giving us something, you get another guy up and bring another one up. We're looking for talent in inexpensive areas. So that's what I can't stress it enough. If a guy is having a bad week and he's on the back of the bench, you get it butt out of here and you bring in another G League player until you find that guy that can really be a contributor and you can trade for something. That is our mission over the next several years. If we're not focusing on our farm system and acquiring assets, we aren't doing our jobs. Let LeBron, let Kyrie, let AD dance. Let them dance. They're going to put on a show. They're going to win a lot of games. They're going to get very close, and they're not going to be able to get the ring, in my humble opinion, because they're just not going to have enough. But it ain't going to matter because we're going to look good enough to get good enough. We just need to get through the next several years. That's what it's about. So if Kyrie Irving wants a 5-year deal, normally that is hellfire for most. And I'm not suggesting we give him a 5-year deal. But what I am saying is you kind of want him here for 5 years. You kind of want him to mask what's about to happen over the next 5 years. That's what you want. If LeBron leaves, you still have a showman in place. Kyrie Irving is a showman. And he's going to mature one way or another. He's going to get closer to basketball because he's here to play basketball. That's what he's put on this earth to do. Whether he's aware of that or not, God gave him that special gift to do that very thing, and he's going to do it. Doing it in our uniform is a good thing. That's the first thing I want to say. Whether LeBron is here or not, you will always have somebody here that you want to see. So that is why you bring Kyrie Irving in, specifically if you're the Lakers, because he's a walking showman. He is absolute entertainer, bro. So that's why I acquired Kyrie Irving. That's why. Because truth be told, he's going to be somebody that if he doesn't perform properly, I can blame him. Like straight up, I can blame him. Yo, we suck not because of my book situation, not because Bron's getting old, not because AD is not able to stay healthy, but because Kyrie's doing Kyrie things. And he better be ready for that. Because that's a real thing, brother. Oh, yes. We're known for it. I don't co-sign that bullshit. I don't. But that is what we're known for. We will definitely blame somebody else for what's going on with us. It's just how we operate. I hate it. It is what it is. Not the greatest trait of our front office, but we are always looking for a scapegoat and a fall guy. And that is exactly who you're going to be, Kyrie. If you start acting up, coming here, deciding you don't want to play ball, bro, that is going to be exactly what the front office is hoping you do if they acquire you, if you're not going to play your absolute best. There's two great scenarios. One, you doing absolutely what you've been doing so they can blame you for all their problems. Or you playing absolutely amazing and putting banners up for us. Once again, either way, the Lakers are happy because we have ourselves hedged either way. And that's why Kyrie Irving's best place is here, because of how our front office is. They want him to act up. They have no problem with that. They can make money off that. The more controversial, the more he acts up in this uniform, the more Stephen A. and all those guys are going to talk about us. And we don't care how you talk about us, just that you talk about us. It's the Laker way, baby. It's been like that since I was a baby. And it ain't going to change anytime soon. So come on through, Kyrie Irving. I welcome you here because I see all of the benefits that I've spoken of. I am not for trading away the 29 pick. That's too much. Like I said, I don't believe we should be mortgaging everything if we don't have to. Because you want to give yourself some wiggle room to get out of these situations that you put yourself in. That's the trouble we kind of have with Russell Westbrook. Thank God the contract is expiring. I'd like to think we wouldn't be acquiring it if it wasn't expiring this year. But nevertheless, you want to leave yourself the 29 pick just in case you need to get out from under Kyrie Irving or Anthony Davis and they happen to not have value. You want to fail safe. And I hate to look at that pick as that kind of thing, but when you're picking up these type of problems, you have to have your out set up ahead of time. You don't walk into them you can't walk out of. That's the problem Brooklyn's running into right now. They're having a little trouble with that. Another thing you can't do is give players your franchise. Can't do it. The Brooklyn Nets are afraid to trade Kyrie Irving because they're afraid to piss off KD. You can't live that way because they're now in a position to where they have to give up Kyrie Irving, and it's going to risk getting them KD. But if they don't get rid of Kyrie Irving, they can't bring KD what he needs. You got to establish that you're in control of your franchise regardless of who you're bringing in, whether they're a superstar or a role player. Because if you don't control your franchise in that way, players are only going to lead you as far as they're going to take you. They don't have the long-term aspects of this franchise in mind. They got to take care of what's in front of them. Their body is going to give them 20 years, and that's it. We got to think about 40, 50 years and all that down the road if you're on the franchise mentality side of things. So, at the end of the day, that's the lesson learned here. The Lakers cannot do that. Even with Ron, you can't do it. You have to establish your leverage and what it is that you're about. And, of course, the players have to do the same, and they have to be able to work in unison. So, that's just what I see there. A lot of times guys be, taking over the franchise, or I want to do this, I want to run that, I want to do this, and then you run you do what's great for the team right now, but then the team's going to suck after that. I've seen that movie too many times. Brooklyn made that mistake, I believe. So, that's what I see. That's my little opinion. I'm going to give it to you exactly the way I see it. Sometimes I'm right. A lot of times I'm not so right. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you what I truly believe. And I honestly think that we are going to be very happy. Laker fans are going to be very happy if we're able to get a good deal for Kyrie Irving. Now, if we trade Anthony Davis to Kyrie Irving, we'll live to regret that. And it don't have to do with Kyrie Irving. It has to do with getting rid of the defensive mind of Anthony Davis. I just don't think that is in the Lakers' best interest in a deal like this. No, if you're not bringing back a defensive player, do not get rid of one. Just don't. You're going to have Kyrie down there dancing, and he's going to be getting swatted at the rim with no body back there to help him or none of that. He's not going to have no help if you don't keep a good big man on the floor. I think, since we're still talking Lakers, Stanley Johnson is so very important. We're talking about wings. I think the Los Angeles Lakers should consider letting LeBron James play some three this year. Because the wing depth is so dang scarce, depending on what we're able to scrounge up in that position, I think it's just fine if we have to slip Bron to the three for the majority of the year. He's better at the three than he was at the five, and y'all had no problem playing him at the five. He's an actual three. His skill set and his game, it was always meant for him to be a three. His body made it so that he had to play bigger. He had to play the four, and he was just fine at it because he can play all positions at a Hall of Fame level. But the reality in my mind is he was a three from the jump. He was a three. And so if we move him back to the three, I think we get the best out of him. I think that's actually his best position. I think it always was. I really, really do. He's a three. Just big, that's all. So, no, he's not a shooter either, but that ain't going to matter. He can hit the three. We've seen him hit threes, and, he'll hit it when he needs to hit it. I think the most important thing, all in all, is just that the Lakers understand that he will be playing more positions than he did last year. And he needs to probably come in with that in mind in regards to how he handles his conditioning. Maybe that means getting a little lighter this year for Bron. Be ready to run, be ready to do more jumping, be ready to recover from more injury type stuff because you're on the wing. So, but I think it's a good chance that he's going to have to play wing if we can't land Nicholas Batum or Otto Porter or somebody in the draft like somebody can help us. So that's what it is. You'll have to buy a second round pick, and of course to do that because we know we don't have any picks. So yeah, speaking of the draft, that is tomorrow at 6 o'clock. No, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock Eastern. So I'm sure coverage will start probably around 4 o'clock. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got to say, man. I wanted to just get up here and chat as always, get a little Laker conversation going. We have no news yet. I don't think anything's going to happen before Kyrie opts in or out. Um, yeah, I don't think nothing's going to happen there. Keep an eye open for Bradley Beal. He's still on the horizon. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know if he's actually going to opt in or out. Just because he said, wait, doesn't mean that he's not actually going to opt out. But looking at how the free agency pool is, the teams that are available to give people money, it don't benefit none of these guys to opt out unless they want to go to those specific teams. It don't. A guy like Kyrie Irving, unless he wants to go to San Antonio, Orlando, Detroit, or like it's only a couple teams that really had the money to even pay these guys, and it ain't none of the teams they want to go to. The Pacers. So if you really want to know if guys are going to opt in or opt out, just look at the environment from which they have to work with if they do either. It's probably best these guys just opt in and then get traded to wherever it is they want to go. But we'll see what they actually do. So that is my opinion. That's what I got to say. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching.